Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning into today's Author Talk series brought to you by the Library Speakers Consortium. The Library Speakers Consortium is a partnership of more than 500 library systems across the US, Canada, and New Zealand with the goal of making Author Talks more accessible to communities of all sizes. I am Brandon Adler, your host and moderator in conversation with each of the acclaimed authors and presenters that you will hear from throughout our series. Today, we are so honored to have Nobel Peace Prize winner and best-selling author Malala Yousafzai with us to chat about her new memoir, Finding My Way. I know everyone's ready to get started. So am I. Before we begin, I just want to give you all that standard housekeeping information that keeps everything running smoothly. We have compiled some questions that were pre-submitted with registration, so thank you for doing that. But please remember that you can continue to submit your questions during the talk by clicking the questions button that's just below the live stream video or off to the side if you've changed views. Keep in mind there are a lot of you tuning in today, so we'll get to as many questions as time allows. And don't worry, if you have to leave early for any reason whatsoever, all registrants will receive a link to the recording in about 24 hours. Now to formally introduce our guest for today. Malala Yousafzai is an education activist, the youngest ever Nobel laureate, best-selling author, and award-winning film producer. She was born in Mingora, Pakistan in 1997 and graduated from Oxford University in 2020. Welcome, Malala.
Hi, so nice to see you.
It's so great to have you here. How are you? How are things going? Congratulations on book launch.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I mean, it's a lot of exciting work. I am here in New York doing a lot of press work, and I had my first book talk last night. So feels surreal, but I'm really, really thrilled that I can share my story with people from around the world.
It must feel good to have it out there now, because there's so much time that you spend writing your story and editing and going through that process that like now everybody gets to read it. How is that making you feel? Do you feel like relief?
Yes, I had been waiting for this moment for so long. I had been working on this book for a few years now, and I am so happy that I can share my story now.
That's amazing. We're happy that you can too. Thank you for being here. Okay, so I want to jump right in because we have so much to cover with your new memoir. I recently described the memoir to someone as being like meeting a new friend that you connect with instantly. It's just so effortless and funny and inspirational to read your story. And it's simultaneously like getting to know you and also having felt like I've known you for years, just reading this. So your storytelling was just absolutely sublime. And Kristen from Mawa Public Library says, how did writing this more personal and candid memoir differ from you writing your first memoir, I Am Malala?
This memoir is the most personal reflections I have ever shared. I have grown into this young woman. I have learned so much about myself in these years, making friends, finding love, and I have opened up about so many things that I never thought would be part of my story. One of that is mental health. And at the same time, I have been open about these experiences like getting ghosted by my first crush or nearly failing my exams. All of these have been a part of my life. This is me reintroducing myself for who I am. And the most important thing for me in all of these years has been to be true to myself. This is not to show myself as a symbol or as a hero, but to show myself for who I am. This is the most personal story, and I have been very honest and open in talking about everything, just to ensure that it's like the true side that people can learn more about.
Yeah. So in the opening words of your memoir, you say, I'll never know who I was supposed to be. And then you go on to say a little bit further, a bullet on a mild October 10 years ago now changed the trajectory of your life. And then you, of course, you woke up a week later in UK in Birmingham Trauma Center, and the world happened to know your name and what happened to you. And we're labeling you as an inspiration and a hero. And Jack from Burlington Public Library, excuse me, says, how did you make sure that you are not defined purely by your trauma and what you've been through. And I posit that maybe this book was probably part of that.
Yes, I would still be introduced by people as the Malala who was attacked by the Taliban, and it was still the story of the 15-year-old girl. But
Yeah.
I knew that there has been so much more to my life, and that is definitely part of the reason why I just could not wait to share more about my life experiences. I have grown into a young woman now. I still fight for my life's mission, which is every girl's right to an education. But I want to share more about this journey of growing into young woman, and making friends and learning more about love and mental health and all of these things. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's wonderful. So you say that it was other people that actually gave you those labels, and Aaron is saying people who were complete strangers to you gave you the label of hero, but I think it could be argued that those were things that you were before the attack. When you were 11, you began writing an anonymous blog for the BBC chronicling life under Taliban rule, and you eventually spoke on national television. So Aaron says, how would you describe yourself in those years before the attack, if not an inspiration or a hero?
In Pakistan, I was still like 11 years old when all of the things changed in my hometown. I just wanted to be a kid at school who could play and have fun. But everything changed when the Taliban took over. Girls' education was banned. I it was these external circumstances that changed everything in my life. I did not like choose to become an activist. I had to become an activist because I did not see any other way for things to change for us girls who were banned from learning, other than to speak out. I knew that that is something we had to do. And then when I was attacked by the Taliban at age 15, I had to move to a new country and take on this mission to advocate for girls globally. So a lot of the times, these external circumstances were defining my life, that I had such a little time to actually get to know myself. So it's hard to like tell who I was in all of these times. But one thing which I knew for sure was that as a kid, I loved laughing with my friends. I loved being a bit mischievous. And when I was, sort of getting older, I missed that part of my old life. And I was like, can I get a bit of that childhood back? So in college, I thought, you know what, maybe this is that opportunity for me where I can make friends probably, and be that childhood self of mine, that and that and get those childhood years back that I had lost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I loved in your book when you described yourself as mischievous, and you used to fight with your brothers and then blame it on them if it got too rough. It was a really good
Yes.
it was a really good contrast to what your life then became.
Yes.
Olivia from Pennington Public Library is saying, I'm a 9-year-old girl. I read about you when I was 4 years old, and I've asked my dad about you ever since. I would like to ask, how did you gain the confidence to stand up for other people, and especially the courage to speak up when you were young? I know that you said you felt like you had to because of everything that was going on, but not every 11-year-old was out there doing that.
This is a question that I get asked a lot of the times, that was it courage? Was it
Sure.
some strength that I had that led me to speak out? I remind people that, for me, it was simply the fact that I could not imagine a life without an education.
Yeah.
Our society was very patriarchal. Opportunities for women were very limited. And if you did not have access to education, it meant that you could not get a job, you could not stand on your own 2 feet, and you were vulnerable to things like being married at an early age, and somehow were dependent on either your father's family or then on your husband's family. And these were common stories. And for me as a girl, I just wanted to protect myself from all of that. That can I just get a chance to complete my education, to be able to read and write, to be able to know about my rights, to be able to just make these decisions and choices for myself. It's just simply this freedom that everybody deserves, to be able to make these choices. So it was simply that dream that made me an activist. And I knew that without an education, I would not be able to have a future. So it's the
Yeah.
circumstances that made me an activist for my right and for girls' rights.
Okay. Thank you. So I want to move into your early days in the UK. You talk a lot about your high school time and going into an all-girls school in Birmingham. And Stephanie wants to know, how did you feel about moving to the UK? What surprised and shocked you about women and the education in the West? And it seems like you didn't have the easiest time acclimating to your new school. Is that right?
That is true, of course. And I have been open about sharing that part of my story.
Mhm.
I can imagine how many kids struggle when they move schools or move to a different place. That's exactly what happened to me. When I moved to the UK, I was unfamiliar with the culture. I had learned the textbook English, but the spoken English is so different. I could not understand the trendy conversations, and I was not up to date with the pop culture conversations. So I always felt left out. Sometimes I just would simply wish to sit next to somebody so I was not like alone in the dining room. And I can understand like so many kids go through that, and I had a the exact same experience. I just wanted to blend in, and I wanted to make friends, because in Pakistan, of course, I had many friends, and my life changed all of a sudden. Um, in my high school, I only made one friend, and I was so grateful for that. But I wished I could make more friends. I was late in joining the school, and by the time I joined, there were already friend circles formed, and it was hard for me to fit in. And somehow then I internalized that maybe as an activist, where people have already heard about me on the news or they know my story, they see me very differently, and maybe I'm not supposed to have friends. So I was internalizing all of that. It was only when I joined college that I challenged myself that no, I think I can make friends, and I should be talking to people. I should be I deserve to make friends. So that's when I made a shift.
Yeah. Nielsen from Southern New Hampshire University's Shapiro Library says, reflecting on your own journey, did adapting to a new country feel like an expansion of your identity, or did it come with a sense of losing part of your heritage? And you talk about this at length
Yeah.
in your book.
It's these are the questions that I think about all the time. I think about what life would have looked like if I were in Pakistan. I miss my school friends, and I am still in touch with Muniba, who was my childhood's best friend. And we talk about the life that we could have had together, because I remember at school we used to think about our future and how we would be like together forever. And my life took a very sharp turn when the Taliban attacked me, and I had to start this new life in a new country and become this global advocate. So it has been a lot to process, and I always think like, would my life have been very different? Sometimes I think yes, I would have lived a normal life, but I would have personally faced so many challenges in completing my education. So I am really grateful that no matter how difficult and painful it was, in this life that I'm living right now, I have been able to complete my own university education. I can now advocate for girls around the world, and every moment, like, I'm just grateful for everything that we're making true for girls everywhere.
Yeah. So speaking of your university education, you were very, very excited to go to Oxford. And Cheryl from Milford Public Library is saying, you've had quite an incredible life. It's so often challenging to be true to yourself, not only from outside pressures, but I wonder, is there a time that stands out to you as an initial moment that you recognize that you weren't being true to yourself? This question just makes me think of you packing for college and digging under your bed to pull out the clothes that you were hiding away from your mother.
In college, I had one goal, and that was to socialize and make friends. And I said, if that means prioritizing that over studying, I might have to do that. And prioritizing that over sleeping, I might have to do that. Because I knew that as a person, like I could not grow if I don't get this exposure to be among girls my age. And I want to be in these spaces where I could be more myself. Um, I had one goal. I said I'm going to go and say hello to every student. I'm going to sign up for every club and every society because I want to meet as many people as possible. And I am so grateful that I did that, because I met the most amazing people and I found the right friends. And one of the first people I met was Cora. She was about the same height as me. I'm short and she was also short, so I was like, okay, that's, I can see that friend. And when we met, it was, I instantly knew that we were going to be friends, because she didn't ask me about my activism or my role in the public, and or like the attack or the Nobel Prize and any of those things. She asked me about what I was studying, what I was up to in college, what I wanted to do for the evening, and can we go and get some groceries? And it's that's when you know instantly that they want to know you for who you are going to become in this college experience, and they're there to support you. So my friends helped me have the best time. It's is this comfort that we created around each other, that I felt like I can be myself here. I don't have to live up to any expectations. I can be silly, I can say the wrong thing, I can make mistakes, I can learn. Friends created that perfect place for me.
Well, speaking of comfort and uncomfortability, Carrie wants to know, how do we teach young women of today that feeling that you experienced of being uncomfortable and turning it into a strength and something to learn into? You really leaned into this, as you mentioned, when you went to college and you had that freshers fair and you
Yes.
kind of signed up for every club. So can you talk about what freshers fair is and how you got over that fear of being uncomfortable and just walking up to somebody because she was the same height as you?
Yes, so freshers fair in college is these stalls about the different clubs and societies and activities you could do, and you sign up for it. So I looked at everything. There was South Asia Society and Pakistan Society and Hindu Society. I signed up for everything, even a Christian society, because I heard that they have a lot of like good snacks and cookies. So I said, okay, maybe I'll get something. and and that way, like, I'll meet people, I'll interact with them, we'll have these events together, Diwali, Eid party, all of these things can help us share food and have conversations and get to know more about each other. But then there were a lot of sports societies as well, like badminton and cricket and rowing. I signed up for rowing. I don't know what I was thinking, but I thought, why not? Let's just give it a try. And I remember for that taster session, I realized that I had to wake up at 5 a.m. I was like, okay, that's a no, no, no for me. And then when I went there, I also found out that you are required to be able to swim. And I realized I can't swim.
Oh, no.
I didn't say anything on the day. I said, just keep it quiet because it just has this experience. But rowing was a lot of fun, but I was so scared on that day because I thought, you know, I like today I could drown, and because I can't swim, it's gonna be terrible experience. But it was a lot of fun. That was my first and last rowing experience.
I understood what you meant though when you wrote about how rowing just looked so charming when you saw like the wooden boats going down the river.
No, I know. It's not as charming as it looks, by the way. It's not as charming.
Sophie from Mentor Public Library saying, in spite of all the media attention surrounding you, were you able to make genuine friendships with other students during your time at Oxford? And we know throughout the book, if you've had a chance to read it since it just came out yesterday. By the way, I forgot to lift that up. It's beautiful.
There it is.
Yeah. We know that you made a lot of really genuine friendships.
Yes.
And as you said, Cora was there with you at Freshers Fair, and there was the huge sign of you all of a sudden at a table you were trying to sign up for.
Yeah.
And that didn't have any impact on her. So I think, yes, you did make genuine friendships, right?
100%. I mean, I still remember that moment. The Oxford Union is this debating society at Oxford, and a lot of leaders and famous figures are invited to speak there. And I had completely forgotten, but I had spoken there many, many years ago. And at the Oxford Union stall, when I went there just to sign up as a student, I wanted to get the membership, and I see this poster, and there are these faces of all the famous people who had spoken there, and there I see myself, and I wanted to disappear in that moment because I thought Cora would see my face and then she'll be like, oh, she's just so boring and a serious person, and I don't want to be friends with her. But she sort of understood it, and she was supportive because some students recognized me and then they asked for photos as well. So, but she helped with the photos, and then we moved back. We sort of changed our conversation back to the normal student conversation. So I immediately knew that she is the right friend because she understands where I'm coming from, but she also understands that I just want to be a normal student more than anything right now.
Mm-hmm. And then your other friends, they all kind of just like fell into your lap. Like you met them so organically as we read
Yeah.
throughout the book. You say at one point in the memoir, and this is, I think, maybe around Galentine's, where you're talking
Yeah.
about Galentine's, that friendship is the only type of love available to all of us.
Mhm.
And I found this to be so beautiful and touching and true. And Khadijah from Montgomery County Library saying, what has been the influence of these positive relationships and friendships with other young women on your success journey, and has the influence extended beyond university?
Yes, all the friends that I have made at college are now friends for life. We have been with each other at every moment in our life. I mean, you can talk about anything. Friends are just there to listen to you. I sometimes just feel silly when I have these conversations with my friends, but like I had never had that space and that sense of safety where I could be myself. And these college friends were the first people with whom I have shared so much about how I actually feel, and what are the questions and doubts on my mind, and even silly things like I had this I had this college crush. And um, when I was sort of telling my friends about it, they were sort of telling me what I was going through, but at the same time warning me that that college kid is supposed to be like a bad guy and you need to stay away. Like that's a bad kid because he gets into trouble at college and all of that. But I was, it's like your friends are like your mentors. They are there to guide you and support you. So, and I also became like a relationship counselor for them. And I remember just looking at the situations that they were facing, and they would sometimes make a joke that I was like a mediator and I was resolving their conflicts, and they were like, oh, you have won the Nobel Peace Prize, can you like solve this college conflict? And I was like, okay, we can think about world problems, but and we can hope to solve that one day, but let's focus on the college problems first.
That's true. That's what was right in front of you, and you had to surmount that first.
Yes.
um, so Farah is wondering, beyond the public eye, what was the daily experience of being a student at Oxford like for you, and how did the university environment contribute to your growth as a global leader? And how are you feeling about kind of reliving your time at Oxford now with talking to everybody about the book?
In college years, it was the first time that I was by myself. Before that, at school, in my high school time, I was living with my parents, and my life was all around the activism and the work. So that's how my calendar used to work, like events, conferences. And I was hardly in the company of friends where I could be more myself. In college years, that changed for me because this time I was managing my own schedule, and I realized that I could sort of be doing literally anything. And that's when I said, okay, like make friends, socialize, have these new experiences, because all of those things helped me learn and grow as a person. I also remember moments when I was thinking about, do I spend 8 hours reading in the library to write an essay, or do I hang out with my friends and be in their company? And I understood that in my case, because my exposure was so limited, that I could not miss the opportunity of being among people my age, to have this like emotional growth as well, and to have that as part of my learning as well. So I was like, you know what, close the book and go hang out with your friends. um, Friends really helped me grow. I changed as a person, like emotionally I changed. I feel like my heart, everything, I was changing as a person. It was just truly fascinating for me. Sometimes, like I couldn't really tell my friends because it was too awkward, but just being in their company, laughing with them laughing at my jokes, or us sharing a meal together were very precious moments to me, and they made a huge difference in my life. When they read my book, they will realize, I have tried to communicate that in different ways to them, but
Yeah,
I will be forever grateful to them for the difference that they have made in my life.
it's beautiful. We have a lot of people asking about the bell tower. So people who were able to read your book since it's come out yesterday. So let's talk about the bell tower. What
Okay.
is the bell tower, and what did you do on the bell tower? Several times, I might add.
Yeah. So in college, I wanted to be a normal student first, but then I realized there are also cooler students who get into these adventurous experiences, like climbing the college rooftop to make it up to the bell tower. When I heard about that, I said, you know what? I'm going to give that a try as well. And I want to tell all my friends about this like crazy experience. It's a very dangerous journey, by the way. So you go up to the fourth floor of the building, you sneak out through this tiny window, you walk on this narrow path along the roof, you jump across to another roof. It's scary. One misstep, you fall. Is imagine four-story building, like you are risking your life. But I was willing to do that because I wanted to have this experience of disobedience, and uh, I wanted to be this rebellious uh, you know person, that I just thought, you know what, I just want to have all of these experiences. I want to live every moment in college. And I remember just sitting there in the bell tower, looking down at the college, looking, keeping an eye on the college security as well, hoping that they do not see me because I will be in trouble and I could get kicked out like of this college any moment. So I was praying that doesn't happen. But I was just feeling this joy, by having this experience of being this young college kid who wanted to have these experiences. So I loved it. Yeah. And then I became like this ambassador of rooftop climbing. So I used to like take other kids and other students with me. Yeah.
There was a whole society for it.
Yeah, there's a whole history to it. Some kids used to do it as an act of rebellion, some as an act of protest, and yeah, only the cool students would do that, and I was one of them.
Would you do it now?
I still would do it. Yes, I think
Would.
growing up as a kid in Pakistan, I realized that I actually loved climbing. I used to climb trees as well. Climbing a wall, climbing a tree was a thing I used to love. So I feel like that had been inside me, and sorry, I don't know what this is. I don't know how to close it.
Oxford calling about the bell tower.
Can you? Sometimes this technology is crazy. Can you see me?
Yeah, I can see you. Oh,
Okay.
yeah, it swiped you away from the screen. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Sorry for that.
No, that's okay.
Apologies for that. Yes. Yeah. Okay.
You were saying in Pakistan, you were always climbing.
Yeah. So I loved climbing trees, and I started climbing at college as well.
So you mentioned earlier that at at Oxford they say you can choose two of the three: sleep, study, or social, and you were all about the social. And this wasn't particularly always in your favor. Um, And Pat from Mountain View Public Library is saying, what turned your academic performance around when you had been failing exams? And how did you get to that point? And Pat continues, considering your lifelong quest for knowledge and this temporary block just seemed surprising to read. And did you ever feel any guilt whenever you felt like you were becoming a burden with your studies?
I know that we're talking to people
All
who
over.
love libraries and who love reading. I for me, like, education is so precious. So um, I want to sort of like make a disclaimer that it's very different for every student. For me, I was prioritizing the social side of my life because that is something that I had missed. And I knew that I would not grow as a person. I would actually not be learning if I limit myself too much to books and actually not get the human interaction, not be among people my age. So that is why I prioritized all of that because it helped me in my learning. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you did, when you were talking about almost failing your exams, you did talk a lot about feeling like, what would people think if the person
Right.
who prioritizes education was
I know it was a lot of pressure because of course I had a lot on my shoulders. I share about that in the book. I was doing advocacy for girls education. For that, I had to travel and be at different conferences. I had to do fundraising for Malala Fund so we can invest in other education projects. And I had to also get an income for my family to support my own education and my family members education, and then support our family members in Pakistan as well. So there was a lot to do. I had to like think about all of these things, and that required travel and work. And at the same time, I had to manage my assignments, and then at the same time socialize. So a lot of
Yeah.
that, it was too much. It was overwhelming. And I remember that I nearly failed my first year exams, like nearly failed them. And that's when I was called by my tutor, and I was warned that I really need to prioritize my studies. And this is a really important message for the kids here, that when I learned about the academic support at college, I initially did not want to consider it because I thought, somehow that I'm an imposter and I don't deserve to be here, that I might be the only one who would need it. And I was just hesitant to consider getting academic support. But as soon as I met the academic support person and I had those first few sessions, I realized how much I needed them. And I also learned that so many of my friends were getting similar support for one reason or another. Students can have challenging circumstances because of their upbringing or things at home or just their circumstances.
Yeah.
And that gave me a little comfort that I was not alone in this. So I said, okay, like, I'm not going to shy away from getting help and support. And in the end, I was saying, okay, like, I have made enough friends. Now I'm going to prioritize my studies, and get the academic support that can help me through this.
Thank you. Danny is saying, how do you explore and embrace cultural differences when you meet new people? Has it ever been difficult for you to connect across cultures?
So I see it in two ways. I love meeting people from different cultures and different communities because there is so much beauty in the world. And when you meet people from different backgrounds, cultures, countries, you learn more about the real world out there. So I really feel lucky that I get to travel around the world. So I have been to Brazil and Nigeria, Egypt, and Lebanon, Jordan, like Japan, so many countries that I have met incredible people, especially girls activists and women activists. So I love to go and learn from them. But at the same time, I also learn about people like through storytelling. It's just like you watch a movie or you see a documentary or you read an article and you hear these stories, or even on social media, like we are connecting with people from around the world. It shows us how much is like in common. We all have similar feelings, emotions. We're all going through similar situations. Like when you meet girls from a different country, they have similar dreams and they want to make friends and they want to socialize and they want to make a difference in their community, but they also have a favorite TV show and they also have a crush on an actor, or they they love art or music, and they love dancing. So I love all of that, how much there is in common, but at the same time it's the diversity and what's different, and that's also the beauty of it. So I feel very, very lucky that I have met so many incredible people from around the world.
Didn't you say your crush was the WWE? What was that? Was it John Cena? John Cena.
And I mean, when I was in Pakistan, I thought the show was all real. I did not know it was scripted. It broke my heart when I
Oh,
was told that it's not real. I found out many years later, and I said that can't be scripted. I was always rooting for John Cena.
Do you still watch WWE?
I mean,
I mean,
not
he's not on there
as
anymore,
a
but
kid, because I have two younger brothers.
uh-huh.
So we would like watch the wrestling game, and then we would practice those moves on each other. So we would like take over the bed. That would become like the ring, and
Hmm.
then yeah, we'll start the moves, and then we'll do the John Cena thing, like you can't see me and all of those things. Yeah.
I love that. Okay, so continuing on kind of a cultural route, Olivia is saying back to rowing club, but not really about rowing club. Not just that first practice, but how your first practice revealed to your mother that you weren't dressing in the things that she had packed for you, and revealed to the reader a deeper struggle that you were having with maintaining and even gaining acceptance from some individuals within your culture,
Yeah.
and some of your own family members. Can you talk a little bit about kind of that, what happened on the walk home after the rowing practice and how it devolved?
Yes. So somebody took a photo of me. I was not aware of that. And then that photo was posted on social media. And in that photo, I'm wearing skinny jeans and a bomber jacket and my headscarf. And, you know, I I sort of get these phone calls from my parents, and they are mad at me because they informed me that there has been this whole backlash against me wearing jeans, and on social media, hashtag shame on Malala is trending, and people are criticizing me for wearing jeans, and they're calling it as, you know, like as a shameful act because I'm not representing my culture or I'm not wearing the traditional clothes, that this is somehow against the religion and against the culture. And I just could not even process what was happening, because at college I wanted to blend in. I wanted to be like every other student, and I knew that students wear jeans and jumpers or sweaters or hoodies. Like nobody is wearing their traditional cultural clothes, and the cultural clothes are like beautiful. I love them and I wear them with pride, but I knew that if I wear my Pakistani traditional clothes, I would stand out. um, so I was facing all of that criticism, and then on the other hand, some people were criticizing me for wearing a headscarf and saying that I am not empowered enough if I'm still wearing a headscarf, and they were comparing that to being a symbol of oppression. And I think on both sides, it was the extreme views where, like a woman is told what to wear,
Yeah.
and like somebody else is defining what women empowerment means. But I think in the end, it's about a woman's choice, what she decides for herself, what she wants to wear. And I realized, that I cannot be defending myself for this. I was under a lot of pressure from my parents to like defend myself or say something in response to it. But I said, no, I'm not here in college for some pilgrimage or for like representing something. I'm here as a student and I want to be like every other student. So I said, okay, like if genes can become a controversy, I don't know what else would become a controversy. So it was also a reminder. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You start apologizing for genes, it's just gonna keep going. Frank is saying, while there has been coverage on how your father supported your advocacy as a young girl in Pakistan, there's been little shared on the role that your mother had related to your advocacy or even during your youth. Can you speak to this along with how both your parents are doing today? And you do talk a lot about your relationships with your mother and your father and how they're different.
Yes. So in this book, I have talked more about my mom. And that's partly because when I got older and I was going through decisions like deciding whether to get married or not, I suddenly looked at my mom and I said, I cannot imagine how big of a decision it must have been for her when she was a young woman herself and she was deciding to get married or, find the right guy. So I started asking her these questions about like what was her dream when she was a girl. And she told me that her dream was just to find a sensible man who could let her have joy in her life. And she just wanted to be living in the city and find a husband who is just like normal and just like good enough. And I tried to ask her what her dream was, like any profession, career she had thought about herself, and I could not get that answer. And it just broke my heart that girls from my mom's time did not even have these dreams for themselves. All they wished for was a marriage that can give them a bit more freedom. And I suddenly realized that, marriage in their time, they were just praying that if they find the lucky person who's like a supportive husband, then that could be a way of them having a little more freedom in their lives. And just like how restricted they were and they just could not even get their education. My mom never went to school. So I was looking up to my mom, but my mom at the same time was a very strict mom. She was always telling me like what to wear and all of these things. She just did not want me to fall in love or any of that. She was like, don't think about marriage or all of that, like we will decide for you. And I was like, mom, this is a really difficult life. It's all decided by my mom. But my mom and I, we have known each other more with time, and I understood the the difficulties that she had seen, and she had saved the lives of so many girls as well who were going through so many difficult circumstances. She had seen like girls being attacked for simply wanting to have an education or for liking a guy or things like that. So I knew that she was trying to protect me, but sometimes that meant like sort of more control. I know
Yeah.
that the intention is good, but it can be an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, absolutely. She's scared for you, so it was harder on you. So you spoke about her saying, don't think about marriage, and you yourself didn't want to get married. So what changed with that? Because you are married now.
Yes, I
I don't know.
mean, yes, I had very strong opinions about marriage. I did not want to get married, and that was the plan of my life. But there was one thing which I had no control over, and that was my feelings. I saw Asar. It was around my college time. I met him through some friends. And the moment I saw him, I was like, oh my goodness, he's like the guy that sort of I would sort of picture. Like he's good looking and he's funny and he laughs at my jokes and he finds me funny. Wow, he's gorgeous. And we had this go-karting experience on our first meetup where I like sort of hit myself against the tire wall, and I had a little concussion, but I exaggerated it a bit. And I just loved how he was treating me completely normally. And he said, come on, like you were like going at such a slow speed, like I'm sure you are fine. And I was like, are you sure? I thought this was like, a major accident. He's like,
Yeah.
no, I think you're okay. I
You
was
weren't
like,
in Formula One.
I know, I know. I was like, only Lewis Hamilton will understand what I'm going through right now. But he made me feel so normal, and but I was not ready for marriage. And to be honest, I realized that this is something in our culture where girls, um, you know, where where for my parents it's as simple that for you guys to be together you have to be married. And I realized, yes, like in our culture, we sort of, I cannot get to know him, I have to consider marriage immediately. But I took my time, I did my research, I was reading all the amazing female authors, Bell Hooks, Virginia Woolf. I said,
Mhm.
guys, please guide me, what should I do? Was doing all of my research on marriage and learning about it. But in the end, I realized that yes, of course, like I had seen girls even in my own community married off forcefully, they lost their dreams. I had also seen how women have made more compromises with marriage, even in the developed countries, for their career, for their income, and so many other things.
Yeah.
But I think in the end, when you find the right person who has the right beliefs and who understands the complex dynamics. So Asar and I connected immediately. He was so patient. He let me have this time. The most important thing for me is that I do not regret it for a second that I took my time, that I had my doubts and I did my research and whatever I could do, and that in the end, of course, I feel like I made the right decision. But I'm not saying if marriage is the right thing or the wrong thing. It is completely up to women to decide for themselves. And yeah, I think it should, like, if it makes their lives happier and better, yes, if the guy or the person brings more to their lives, it's up to them to decide.
Mhm. Yeah. Sage advice. So I do want to transition as we're starting to run out of time to some of the mental health issues that you mentioned earlier. At some point in your time at Oxford, you began to have panic attacks and to see a therapist. Had you ever had panic attacks before this? And what was the impetus that led you to seeking a therapist? What made you finally say, okay, I have to talk to somebody?
Yes, so in the middle of my college, I had flashbacks of the Taliban attack 7 years later after the Taliban attack. And it was completely traumatizing because I hadn't had panic attacks before that. And I thought that I had received all of my surgeries from the bullet and I was fully recovered. But it just broke me down to realize that because of this incident, which I talk about in the book in detail, I was like reliving the flashbacks of the Taliban attack. It was triggered by this bong incident and I had no clue what any of that was. And it took a sharp turn.
Mhm.
I suddenly thought, maybe I had seen it on, maybe I had tried to like suppress those memories, but I had seen the Taliban attack. Maybe it's not something that I had forgotten. It changed my life forever because I started getting panic attacks after that. I was going through anxiety and PTSD, and I did not know how I could get out of it. My friends even started noticing that I was not being myself.
Yeah.
My friends were just so kind that they made sure that they were there for me, and they even did sleepovers, and that was like the first time when my friend did a sleepover that I could actually fall asleep. I was like shaking and I was going through such difficult time, and then finally a friend of mine suggested that I see a therapist. She told me that a lot of students do that. She herself is seeing a therapist, and that gave me a little comfort that okay, maybe there is some hope. And that was the first time that I started taking therapy 7 years after the Taliban attack.
And you were approached about therapy when you were in the hospital after the attack, right?
Yes,
Yeah. And you just,
I know. And I remember the therapist asking me a question like, how are you feeling today? And I was like, really? I rolled my eyes. Do you think a question like that could help
yeah.
with my pain?
Hmm.
But I realized that that was this unaddressed part of my recovery. I thought that the treatment was complete, but now when I look back, I realized that no, actually this was untreated. We had just left it, and it was piling up. And when I was going through a lot and I was under a lot of pressure, and a simple thing like a bong experience just triggered all of that. And I was at this like vulnerable place in my life where I felt like I was not living up to the expectations anymore. I had failed to live up to the definition of being called a brave and courageous girl, that somehow, um, you know I I was not this brave and strong woman who I was supposed to be. But when I lived through those experiences, and when I um, tried to still do my activism and still be who I am, even in those moments of breakdowns, I realized that I need to redefine how I see bravery. Maybe I did not
Mhm.
have the right definition of it. True bravery means when you still do what you believe in, even when you feel like you are breaking down and you are in the darkness, but you keep it going. You ask for help and you find a way through it.
Mhm. I feel like there are a lot of lessons in your book about the bravery of asking for help.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
really nice. Sometimes,
I encourage everybody to do that. I wished I had asked for help I had asked for help a lot sooner, but it's never too late. Always ask for help. Academic support, mental health support, friends, your family, always ask for help when you need it. And also when you see somebody else needing help and support, be there for them. I'm so grateful for everybody who was there for me, for the friends who just were around me, for my family, for everybody.
mhm. Yeah, no, sometimes you just need permission to ask for help.
Yes.
Somebody needs to hear it. So I love that. Thank you. Emily from Alameda Free Library is saying, how do you continue to guard your commitment to healing? As in, what practical steps do you continue to take to maintain your growth? Are you still doing therapy?
Yes. So I do therapy. I try to look after myself. Initially, I did not see it this way that I do now. I now take breaks. I try to go and breathe in some fresh air. I go for a walk. Sometimes I run or go to the gym. All of these things are helpful for me to prevent um, getting more anxiety and feeling overwhelmed with things. And I initially used to think that these were like extra things that I'm bringing to my life, but now I see it as part of my activist life. I
Mhm.
know that I can be a better activist when I look after myself as well. So sleep, eating, and just giving yourself some time to process everything, or it's sort of like refueling yourself. And if you don't refuel yourself, then you are not doing your job better. So I constantly remind myself this. And I remember things from like the therapist whenever I'm going through moments of anxiety or when I'm under a lot of stress. I just remember her breathing technique, like the 7-11 breathing technique, or go, have sort of a session. These things really help me in my work.
Yeah. I'm picturing your dad like putting food on the table and walking out of the room and saying it's not for anyone in particular. Eat, Malala. Eric from Detroit Public Library saying, hello, Malala. Congratulations on the publishing of your memoir. It will affect the lives of many. Eric then adds, although I attended Cambridge, we find ourselves tonight on very common ground. Eric says, how has your faith been transformed by the events in your life following the Taliban attack upon you, and where are you now?
So faith, as in like, how would you?
I'm assuming your spirituality, religion.
you for me, it's always about speaking the truth,
Mhm.
and and advocating for every girl's right to education. That is the pathway of my work, and I think that is the right thing to do. So that is what keeps me going. I think about girls everywhere. There are 120 million girls who do not have access to education. They are affected by different reasons, different factors. And right now, I see a question about Afghanistan as well.
Mhm.
Yes, Afghanistan right now is the only country in the world where girls are banned from learning by this extremist regime of the Taliban. And this is a story that I talk about in the book as well. I was going through my last surgery to recover from the Taliban bullet injury. It was to help with my facial nerve, and to restore my smile and all of that. And I just could not process that Afghan women and girls have to live under the Taliban regime again, where they would not have their rights anymore. And a few weeks ago, I had a call with 4 Afghan girls who are part of this program that is run by this incredible Afghan women activist. And they're running underground secret schools. They have these WhatsApp channels where they run classrooms, and they use these online tools to spread education. And these girls were telling me that at home, picking up a book and learning is an act of resistance for them. So I really admire the courage and the bravery of Afghan women, and they need more support and solidarity from all of us. It is the most extreme form of oppression that Afghan women are facing, but it's a reminder that the right to education is still denied to girls. And we need to double our efforts and do more to protect this right for every girl.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Christian is saying, how is your Shangla School for Girls doing? Is it K through 12 now?
Yes, and it's amazing. The first class of girls graduated this year, and I'm so proud of them. I met them the spring of this year. I talk about that in the book as well. Like that is my favorite part of the book. These girls were just so excited for the journey ahead. They are role models to their community. They want to be doctors, teachers, engineers, and I just cannot wait for them to have that future ahead of them. But I remember, like, having this moment where I thought, I want them to be determined for their future, but I just want them to be themselves more than anything. It's okay not to know everything. It's okay to learn along the way, to make mistakes, to be adventurous. And it's a message to all the young people here as well in this call, that it's okay to not have all the answers, and it's okay to ask for help whenever you need it, whether that is academic support or mental health support. And this is the message that I was giving to the girls, like, be happy, have joy in your life, and have fun. That's the most important thing for you all, and you will find your way. You'll find your way through all of that. You will, but just be true to yourself.
Mm-hmm. I love that advice. Would you say, because Aja, who's a 9-year-old tuning in, was asking, what is the first and most important thing that she can do to help other girls? Would you say that advocating for yourself is one of the first and most important things? What advice do you have there?
I think it starts with determination, and I think Aja has the determination. I think for us to be aware of the injustices and inequality is the start of the journey. And I also remind people that change begins with one person. That is true. But for us to see the transformation, we need to work collectively. So do not underestimate the power of collective work of all of us. All the changes that we are seeing in the world, I visit villages in Nigeria. I go to see the work that we're doing in Brazil and in Pakistan, and I see how it is the work of these different activists who are coming together, and they're transforming their communities. So it is a lot of work, but being there for each other, joining hands, it can help us make a huge difference.
Absolutely. Okay, I can't believe this is the end of the hour. It went so fast. But the last question that I love to ask is, what book are you reading right now that you suggest everyone run out to their library and check out immediately?
Wow, I mean, we have like different age groups here, so I'll just say, I have been really like busy working on my own book that I didn't get much time to read that many books this year. But some of my favorite books are Born a Crime by Trevor Noah. I also read this book called This American Woman by Zarna Garg. She is Indian American comedian, and she is hilarious. So I loved her story and her journey. And there are, books by incredible Afghan girls as well. My Beautiful Sisters by Khalida Popal. She is an Afghan female athlete, and she's advocating for the Afghan women's football team to be able to play. And there is Sola Mahfouz. She has written My Defined Dreams. I know I'm recommending too many books, but
No,
just
not at all.
read whatever you love. Read whatever you love, fiction, non-fiction, whatever genre you like. Reading is always fun. Or you could read my book, Finding My Way.
Well, they're definitely all going to do that, especially after tonight. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It's truly been a pleasure to speak to you for the last hour. And thank you for everything that you do out there in the world. Thank you
so, so much for your support. I wish you all the best in everything that you do. Believe in yourself and go for it.
I also want to extend a huge thank you to all of the viewers for tuning in to the Author Talk today. Without your support, none of this would be possible. And so we thank you for choosing to spend your time with us. If you scroll down below the live stream video, you can see a resources area, which contains a link to Malala's new book, Finding My Way. We look forward to everyone joining us next week on October 29th to chat with historical fiction novelist Philippa Gregory. Be sure to register for this and lots of other great events on your library's event page. I'm Brandon Adler. Thank you for joining us.